Yo, we're starting up on NavMesh's. That's where'd it go? Navigation meshes. So that's kind of what all the A-star shit has been leading up to, in a sense. Is this is a thing in Unity that's just gonna do A-star automatically, as far as I understand it. So this should be a pretty easy one, but it'll be one that we actually get some what's the word? Some results from. Because
Yeah.
we should be able to actually have a little guy chase the player around and like avoid obstacles and stuff like that. So this is something I'll just implement in the same Unity file I've been implementing everything in so far, I think. But before that, we both have things to show. Actually, I just realized your stream isn't showing. Just stuff to archive for the stream progress. Oh god, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. I just made like a little picture, I guess.
I kind of like seeing the like grid.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that wasn't on purpose, but it kind of looks cool.
Yeah, it does. I was using it as a way to like I realized from sculpting uh you can like you could if you were sculpting something and you wanted it to be like not below a certain level, you could put a plane down like right below the surface and then sculpt, and then you could see when the sculpt goes below the plane, you know. And that's what I did with this grid.
To
I
give yourself like a floor.
yeah. So you know like if you're below the floor or above it, I guess. I want to do more stuff like that with sculpting where I noticed I've seen people sculpt where they like use meshes, like other meshes as tools.
Oh, that's
Like
weird.
in that way. You know what I mean? Like they sculpt with a ball on the inside so that when they sculpt it's like, "Oh, this is inside the ball or outside the ball."
Yeah. I saw somebody animated an object to be spinning and then played the animation and then was
Oh, yeah.
sculpting on that. So it was like they were actually doing pottery.
That's like an add-on
That looks
they
so
like
fun.
have been working on. I follow that.
I mean, you could just, there's like easier ways to do that, but it still is cool. Well, then my thing is, I did a little bit of work on the Anna model from this lady that I drew that was based off the AI dungeon stream.
Oh, switch the
Yeah, I just now realized. So this is what I got so far. Just textureless lady. And it looks a little weird having these things just popping out of her head. They look kind of like horns. I'm hoping once you have the hairline colored in, it'll make it more obvious. Because the way the top of the head is, I couldn't really make the hair pop out very cleanly without redoing the whole thing.
Oh, right.
So I figured I'd just draw it in and see if it helps at all. But still, I think this shape's pretty good, I think. I think the earrings work. I think the jacket. I don't know how to get rid of this shit. I don't know why this happens. It's just like a regular box. They get so ugly. Like, look how crinkled up and fucked up it looks.
Did you do Shift N?
Alt N?
Shift N.
On what? Just the one?
Like the row, I guess. Oh,
What
sorry,
does
I'm
Shift
looking at
N
the
do?
Twitch. Shift N recalculates the normals.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
Do like Control Plus and then do it. It doesn't hurt to do it to the
Control
whole
Plus?
even.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then... Yeah, it doesn't seem to do anything.
It's weird.
And there's not any, like, rogue meshes on the inside. It's just a little bam, 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 bam. And there's no duplicate things. I've done merge by distance.
What about in other modes? Other view modes, like rendering modes?
Looks like worse here. Look how fucked up that looks. But then, like, when you look at just the wireframe of, like, the topo, like, it's, like, normal. Just the normals, like, are very bad. I don't know why.
Maybe,
It looks like there's, like, a circle clipping through it or something. It's so weird.
that is really weird.
I figure I always
Oh,
run into
oh, I
that.
know. Your subdivision or your subsurface radius is weird
What is that?
on the material. Let me make sure that's right.
What should I put it to?
I figured it would be 111.
Subdivision surface?
No,
Or
subsurface
subsurface?
radius.
What do I put it to? 1, 1.
111. It's not changing it at all though. I guess
No.
subsurface is off. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. Never mind.
Ah. I could just make a new material too. Here's just like a fresh
What if
material.
you just do shade, smooth, shade? Yeah, it's not even the material.
I think it's the normals. Yeah, if I switch to flat shading and then I switch back, it doesn't like do shit. I could also do recalculate normals for the whole thing and it doesn't. Nothing changes.
What about
Maybe if I flip them. Even
no.
flipping them didn't do anything. It's so weird. And I've like deleted them and replaced them over and over and over. It just keeps
the
having
whole
that.
thing looks weird though. The whole model has weird. Maybe. Yeah, that's very weird looking.
I might just not have
Shadows.
good topo.
I mean, topo is topo. Like that at the end of the day, like you'd have to go really crazy, I feel like. Yeah, like that corner right where you were. You see that like black corner in the middle of her chest, I guess.
Well, that is like an indent thing. But what are you talking about?
Move over to the right from where you were.
This?
You see that trapezoid or rhombus or whatever that's like black?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
Well, it's extruded out. Those are like pockets. That's what those are supposed to be, at least. So it's just so it'll kind of pop out in the silhouette. Like those things. See on like the drawing?
Mm.
That's all that is.
Yeah, I don't know what would cause that.
It's looking kind of funky.
There's no triangles anywhere?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, there's this, but...
Yeah, not like bad ones.
Like, it looks like this should be normal.
I feel like they're like indented. If you...
Look at that. Like, even if I move it way the fuck out here... It's so weird.
Maybe it's just a light mapping thing. Like... I guess you did it over and over, though.
Yeah, that's what I thought, is if I just, like, recreated them from a fresh start kind of deal. Maybe if I...
There is a weird, like, V shape.
Maybe if I do, like, the loft.
Oh, yeah, look. I see it. I see the problem. Look. Oh, wait, maybe not. Look directly forward at her. Press 1, yeah. Is the mirror messed up at all?
I don't think so. Oh, wait. There's a... I don't know if that's related, but I did catch a fray. I guess I could just hide the mirror, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe just select everything and press space and search beautify, there's a thing that's like beautify faces that might help. No.
Well, I don't have these things down anyways.
Oh yeah.
Let me do it after I place them. I mean, do you see how I'm doing it like that? So it kind of juts out. I suppose that could be a problem. Yeah, it doesn't like that. I bet you if I did that and then that. No, that's still fucked up.
What if you do it by hand where you just connect the first one and then F? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks still pretty bad. It's so weird, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just kind of an unnatural flow that I kind of juts like that, but... And I guess if I do an unlit shader, it really won't matter. But it still is, like, frustrating, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Because I've never really seen
How do you even describe that?
weird shading. Is auto smooth on?
I don't know what that is. Look at
If
that.
you go, I think it's the green. What the fuck? It's not auto smoothing. There must be a texture on, and maybe you don't. No, actually, there couldn't be, right?
Yeah, this material is just a color, I think. Oh wait.
Ooh.
Oh wait, no, it's well, actually, no, it shouldn't be a problem because I made this is a brand new material. It still
Maybe
has that.
Control N. Oh wait.
Alt
Maybe
N.
yeah, and then recalculate outside.
Maybe if I do set from faces. I've had weird shit with that though, where like I can't undo it after I do that. Whatever. Oh.
Oh, okay.
I think
Cool.
that did it. The fuck? Okay.
Nice.
All right. I'm not complaining, I guess. But yeah, I think she's coming out okay. Obviously, she's flat, like completely unlit or not unlit, untextured, and there's still some weird stuff. But I think once I get all the textures on, hopefully I'll get her looking a lot more like the drawing. This shape was harder to do than I thought it would be, like the collar.
Oh yeah.
I'm still not even fully happy with it. But yeah, whatever. That was our little modeling repair. All right. So NavMeshes is hour and 5-minute lesson. So let's just get started on that then, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta change my stream. There we go. Are we back to the old intro? Oh god, it's so loud. That was weird. I wonder what made her want to go back. I wonder if A-Star was newer and they just planted it in there. And this is like an old one. Like originally they just went straight to NavMeshes. Whatever.
In this lecture, I'll introduce you to a powerful concept
You
using
hear
AI
her?
navigation called
Am I here?
No, do you hear her?
Oh. No.
navigation meshes
Oh
or
yes,
NavMeshes.
yes.
NavMeshes are
Yeah, this is picking up right where the waypoints left off. Oh shit.
So maybe she's using it as like an alternative.
There's just like a gunshot. What the fuck was that? That was really loud.
Oh,
I'm gonna go see what that was real quick.
okay.
I mean, I'm probably gonna go open the door and see nothing and go, oh, okay, and then go back inside. Whoa.
What happened?
We found it. We found out where the shot was from. That would be in such bad taste if I just got shot right now when I opened my door.
Yeah.
No, it was exactly what I said. I walked outside and I looked in the sky and then I went, oh. And then I walked back in.
You just get like blown out of your doorway like Django Unchained.
Well, I did get one piece of information. There's a football game going on right now, but the gunshot was in like the opposite direction of the football field. So
Yeah,
I don't
but
think it
people
was
are up.
from I don't think it was from the field, but it's homecoming, so people are probably doing dumb shit. I'm calling it a gunshot. It was probably like a firework. But whatever. But yeah, they went from waypoints to nav meshes, and then later they were like, oh, we should do an A-star thing, and then plopped it in right between. That's definitely what happened.
Yeah, maybe because it was also the thing where like the project files were like only available for the like paid tutorial series.
Yeah.
So maybe there's like a second level of like explainer videos like that where it's like where it's more boring stuff.
And that was like a
That's
taste
like-
of it.
Yeah, or like they felt like they should put that in with it.
So yeah, this demonstrates really
It was very
good
separate.
what a nav mesh is going to be. Literally, it's pretty self-explanatory. I guess I'm not explaining it to you. I'm sure you know. But just for the sake of the stream, I guess, that like this blue is just like a mesh that's generated based on the geometry and based on like what stuff you tell it, like this isn't a navigatable area. And then A star is just points within this mesh, essentially. You just tell it like, hey, go over here, and it'll just do A star throughout this entire mesh that it can navigate within, and then create a path and then follow that path. And it does it like instantly, of course. So we're going to learn how to play with that a little bit.
Or a built-in Unity feature, and are used to divide an environment up into navigatable areas, which the A-star
Oh, here
algorithm
she
can then be
goes.
used on for pathfinding. The method, originally called a meadow map, was developed for robotic applications in the mid-1980s. It became more popular in the 2000s for use in games. A NavMesh divides a model into a series of polygons and assigns a cost to each. This cost is considered in the pathfinding algorithm in determining the best path for an AI to take. We call the AI using a NavMesh an agent. This is a generic term originating in traditional AI where words like NPC, agent, and bot all mean the same thing. There are 4 tabs in the Unity navigation system for setting up a NavMesh: Agent, Areas, Bake, and Object. The first defines an agent. An agent has 4 main properties that you can set to define the character's size and movement abilities. These are used by a NavMesh to determine where a character can and can't go in the environment. Note they are not
Who's
based
this
on
lady?
the properties you might
Is
set
this
in
the lady
physics
that's been
system,
talking to
nor are they
us?
based on the model's size you're using. So set these carefully.
her
The size of
avatar.
an agent is
this
defined
what
by a
she looks
cylinder
like?
that the character would fit within. It has a radius for determining how wide your character is and a height. It is generally assumed the character will be navigating across a flat terrain, but in the case of slopes and steps, you need to declare the gradient of slopes accessible by the character, as well as the height of stairs that
So
it
this
can
is the
access.
NPC,
The Agents tab
right?
will also let you define different sized agents by adding more than one type. This
There you
allows you
go.
to have many types of agents, all with differing sizes and navigation abilities. The Areas tab is where you can define different costs for different
This
parts
is
of the
sick.
NavMesh. cost is used by the A-star algorithm to calculate the best path across the mesh from one location to another. There are 3 built-in types that are used to set different parts of a mesh to walkable, not walkable, and jumpable. To these you can add your own. Any area type can be included or excluded in an agent's pathfinding search across the terrain. This makes it possible to have some characters unable to traverse
Yeah, see,
water
they're
or
not
walk
clipping
doorways.
through each
The
other.
Bake tab turns your meshes
That's
into
already
NavMesh.
solved
It does
the
this by
problem.
dividing the mesh into numerous polygons
Yeah.
and determines where the agent should be able to travel using the baked
So it's
agent
just
size.
like the
When you create a
layers
NavMesh in the
system.
Bake tab, it uses this agent size and not the sizes you set up in the Agents tab. By default, the humanoid agent type is the only agent type recognized by the NavMesh. And even though you can define multiple agent types in the Agent tab, you can only use humanoid in the setup given to you via Unity. Having said that, there are beta components available that will allow you to set up different NavMeshes for different agent types, and we will look at this in later workshops. Other bake settings include being able to
This is
generate
the good
off-mesh
shit.
links. These define how far across a gap in the mesh an agent can fall or jump. The detail of the NavMesh can be set using the manual voxel setting. Voxels are a data structure used to divide the world up before the NavMesh is constructed. The bigger the voxel size, the less accurate the NavMesh, as bigger world divisions will miss some of the detail in the mesh. This value is usually set to 3 per agent radius. You are aiming for values around 2 and 4. The minimum region area allows you to remove sections of the mesh that were calculated as navigatable but are too small to be of any use, and you don't really want them included in the pathfinding. By increasing the minimum region area and rebaking, you can remove these small areas. When a NavMesh is generated for a bunch of meshes, it averages out the height and can do things like turning stairs into a slope. If this is not the effect you're
Yo,
after, then you
that's
can turn
pretty
on the
cool.
height mesh box before baking. This will include
Just
height
does that
values into the mesh.
automatically?
It will also take up more memory and baking time, so don't be too generous with its use. The last tab, the Object tab, is where you can align specific area types to different parts of your mesh. These are the areas defined in the Areas tab. This tab also allows you to specify which parts of your scene you want to create a NavMesh for, as well as generating off-mesh links that allow you to transition from one NavMesh to another. NavMeshes are a powerful system to get your NPCs moving with very little effort on your behalf. With them you can create all types of scenarios, from patrols and crowds to traffic and flocks. In this section we will examine some of the fundamental elements that make NavMeshes work and create some examples that really demonstrate their power.
Cool.
So I could have skipped that the whole time. I'm just now realizing. The first time we did that, I was like, fuck, I have to sign in. Now it doesn't matter. Oh my god, that thing is so loud every time. Was I even on 1.5 speed that whole time?
Let's turn our
Yeah.
existing waypoint
Okay.
system into one that uses a NavMesh instead. And we'll do this to give a real broad coverage of the NavMesh system before we start to delve into it more deeper in other lectures. So start.
Is this one we want to follow along with, you think?
I don't know yet.
Oh yeah, I guess it is kind of early to say. But she's going to convert the waypoints to a NavMesh, basically. So I already have the waypoint system set up. So that,
okay.
So hopefully that helps. She's
Yeah.
probably just going to delete everything and just add a NavMesh, whatever.
Starting with the code that you finished up with in the previous lecture, where the tank was commanded by buttons to follow around these waypoints that we've placed, we're going to replace the A-star code that we've put in there by hand with a NavMesh instead. Now, to turn the environment into a NavMesh in Unity, the first thing you need to do is find all of the bits and pieces that are going to be part of the NavMesh, and that's all of the models. In this case, it's going to be all of this stuff that's under level art in the hierarchy, and that includes things like the ground plane, concrete, houses, everything that's included. With this particular map, it's already been set up to use NavMeshes, but the way you do it from scratch is you select the item that you want to be included in the NavMesh system. So in this case, we're selecting concrete, which is that bit of concrete around the tank. Over in the inspector, next to the name of the object, under where it's got static and a little drop-down box, you drop that down and, let me just make this a bit smaller, okay? And then in there you're looking for navigation static, and you want that to be turned on. And everything that is turned on for, all of the meshes, will then be included in the NavMesh calculation. So with that on, you can then open up the navigation window. The navigation window can be found under Window, Navigation. And I usually have it sitting under the inspector because you're not really going to it very much after you've set up your world. Now, the tabs here I'll explain in later lectures, but for now we're just going to do a really quick demo of how this works. Go to the Bake tab. Now, the Bake tab is going to process the NavMesh for your terrain based on all of the objects that you've made navigation static. And you do that by clicking on the Bake button. Once you've done that, you'll see that your map changes and you get all of these blue areas. Now, these are the areas that are walkable. I know that they're walkable. If you quickly just duck over to the Areas tab in Navigation, you'll see that that colour blue means that those polygons that's generated are where the agent is allowed to walk. and it's only set up at the moment for like walkable and not walkable. There's also a jump one in there by default as well. Now, these walkable and not walkables are all determined by the way that your agent is set up. For now, we're just going with the default. Now, the other part of a navigation mesh is the agent itself. And to define what is an agent and what knows about the NavMesh so that it can pathfind around the NavMesh, you need to add a navigation agent component to your NPCs. In this case, it's the green tank. So if you select the green tank, then in the inspector, add component, and we're going to look for NavMesh agent. Add that on. That will immediately make that tank adhere to that NavMesh so that it can use and find the NavMesh. Up until now, we've been coding in all of the steering behaviors for our NPCs. Now that you've made the tank a NavMesh agent, it will be already programmed with movement and speed and angular speed, acceleration, and all of those things. And you'll find the settings for those in the component that you just added to the tank. Again, for now, we'll just leave these as the default, but feel free to have a look at what they are. So you've got speed, angular speed, acceleration. You can also set obstacle avoidance of how far it should stay away from things as well. Now, it's this NavMesh agent that we're going to grab.
I don't know if it's because I
and
was
then
just a
tell
fucking
it-
idiot or not, or if it really is like this is such a better system than Unreal system. Like immediately, just the fact
Really?
if that's what I mean. I can't decide if I'm just dumb and I didn't know how to use it. But like there's been so many already. There's just throwing so many options that just like
Yeah.
are solving problems that I was like just turmoiling over in Unity. Like the object radius and the jump zone and the fact that you can have like 50 different like types of navigatable areas. Like I guess again it probably is in there and I just didn't know how to do it, but it looks so available and like obvious in this setup. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, once we saw all that A-star stuff, like I feel like you could spend like a long time making your own version of the of like
Like an agent and
of-
a nav mesh and shit.
yeah, like your own nav
Just like
mesh.
why though?
Well, I guess what I mean is like you could do that, but then it like what it seems like I guess is that like they did that specifically like where it was like a game. This feels like a game developer made it, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's like feels like a game developer's tool for
Which is always
for doing
good, yeah.
that
Because
mesh.
if you could find like, there's a lot of that where it's like, yeah, this is for robotics first and foremost, but you can make it
Yeah.
work in
Yeah, exactly.
video games. But like, this is for games. Yeah, I see what you mean. All right.
where our waypoint is. So now we're going to rewrite our follow path script. So just open that up.
Why do
Follow
you even
path,
need that?
We're doing all of this by hand at the moment.
Oh, I
Now
guess.
that
Never
NavMesh
mind.
system in Unity is going to take over for us. So a lot of the stuff that we've got going on in here, we don't need anymore. So first of all, we can get rid of our speeds and our goal. Then we can get rid of our node system that we've got and also the graph. We don't need that anymore either. I'm keeping the waypoint manager in here because it's got hold of our waypoints that we've placed
Oh,
on
we
the
still
map.
do need the
So
waypoints
now that the
actually. That
NavMesh
makes
is in
sense.
control,
Yeah, you
the
still
waypoints won't
should
be
be able
used
to
as
tell
You don't
them
need the
to-
edges,
points,
though.
but rather as a destination or
Yeah.
a goal that you want to get to. The
You
actual
don't need any of the
pathfinding
nodes,
is
I
now done
guess.
by the NavMesh itself, and we'll probably find that the tank will take different routes now that it's using that instead. Okay, so in the start, we don't need a current node, and we don't need a graph.
Yeah.
Start. We'll leave
This is
our
nice.
go to heli and go to ruin in there. I'm just going to comment this out because we'll need it as a
This is
reference
what I
in a moment.
just
And then in our
I feel like
layout-
this was kind of dumb. It was kind of, I don't know if it was like I'm sure it wasn't like an oversight. I'm sure she's smart enough to figure this out, but it feels so simple. Like I just made a void when I was setting this up instead of doing go to ruin, go to heli, go to dirt, go to whatever. I just said like go to point and then had it take an int, and then it just sets the waypoint, the current waypoint to that int.
Yeah.
I feel like that was just like so much more simple. I don't know, whatever.
I think she probably used the event system with the UI. So you would in the UI. you
Well, I
would have
use the
to,
event
like-
system too, because you can put certain numbers tied to certain events. So she could
Oh,
just
yeah, I guess
make
that's
that
true.
button call that function with that predetermined int that lines up with the point. I don't know. It really
Yeah.
doesn't matter that much. It wasn't that much easier or anything, but it just felt kind of like, like why didn't she do that? You know?
Yeah. It's the same thing with Cat, like when he'll do like all these for loops in a row, and I feel like there's other ways to do it. I forget. I was thinking about it the other day. It just reminded me. But anyway,
For all the
Keep going.
complicated bullshit I've learned through all of this, and like how much smarter I've gotten going through school for computer science and shit. I don't know how to close these fucking windows. I've like never figured this out. The ones,
Your own windows?
yeah, you know the ones where you like pull it and the little slide goes.
I could tell you.
Well, you just gotta pull it at like an angle, I guess, but I can never find what the angle is.
It's forward.
So I pull it like toward me.
Yeah.
It's just going higher and higher.
You have to like, there's a switch on the inside that is like towards you, and if the rope pushes on that
Oh.
switch, it drops it down.
It was, I guess I was assuming, yeah, I was standing perpendicular to the window, but if I stand parallel to the window, then it's towards me.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay. There we go. I learned something new.
Yeah, I don't know who taught me that, but I had to, like, I had a very similar.
And then the
Like, where I said,
fucking
like,
wooden
how do I
thing
not
on the
know
top always falls off because I sit there and
Oh,
pull
yeah.
it for a million years, and then the thing falls off, and it's like a disaster.
I have blinds that like I never would have thought existed until I saw, like, I don't know, I never knew these kind existed before. You just like push the bottom up and it goes up and stays up, and then you pull it down and it stays down, and they're blinds.
You just grab it and move it.
Yeah, you literally, you just
It's like a garage
grab-
door.
Yeah. It's crazy. It just tracks perfectly.
That
They're
sounds a
great.
lot nicer. That sounds like that's how I would. That's how you would like imagine a window thing would work ideally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a window. Like the window behind it works identical to the way it works.
Do you open both at the same time?
That would be cool.
Okay, let's continue.
Any of this code, so we just get rid of everything completely. The
This
NavMesh
whole
agent will now be
thing.
doing all of the work for our tank. So we need to grab hold of that at the top.
What
I
does
will
this even
declare
do? So all it does
link
is
to that
say
agent. So we create
NavMesh,
a
go to this point.
uniagent.ai
That's like this whole
agent
script then, I
called
bet.
agent, and then in the
Yeah,
start,
I
we'll
mean, it
use the
just
get
keeps
component to
track
grab hold
of the
that.
waypoints.
To set a goal for the agent,
It
we'll do
has
that
the
inside of
or
two
the
methods that we've written
array.
that are run by the buttons. So it's quite simple, really. It's agent, so we grab hold of our agent, then we go dot set destination. And it's that destination that will be the location of the waypoint that we want to go to. Again, these aren't waypoints as such, they're just goal locations on the map. And in this case, it's WPS 4. So it's our red sphere that is in our array at position 4. And we want the transform dot position because we're going to a position, and that's what set destination needs. Now, for the ruin, we can just copy this code and place it in here and set the position to our waypoint 0. So the destination that you place into here just has to be a position, and it can be another agent that's moving around the map or a set location anywhere within that agent. Right, and that's all you need to do. The agent code and the NavMesh code does all the rest of the work for you. So save that, and we'll go back to Unity, press play. Now without a destination, obviously the tank's not going to go anywhere, but let's try and get to the helipad, which is over here. We'll hit helipad. You see the tank
It's confusing
around.
that the
turning around, the
waypoint
speed that's
manager
moving
is still
all
there.
set on the tank in the NavMesh agent.
She should
So
probably
now the
hide
NavMesh
that.
agent's
Whatever.
there. You'll notice that it also just took a shortcut, didn't follow the actual waypoint paths that we've set up from the previous
Okay,
system.
never
Because they're
mind
no
that.
longer necessary. So let's try and go to the ruin and see which way it will go this time.
She made it work.
So it's going to go back there, so it's going to take a bit of a shortcut across the corner because it's calculating the shortest distance to get there. And this is what it's figuring out that the NavMesh is. And you can see, well, it's even taken a real shortcut up through between the buildings and over to where the ruin
makes
is. And
me
if we have a
so
look in the
happy.
scene
It was so
and click
simple.
on
That
Yeah.
was so nice.
tab,
That was like in the
see that
Division
the tank
trailer
can
when he
move up
closed the
between
door
buildings.
in the middle of the
So if the tank
shootout.
was too wide, that's when you can go back and set the size of the agent so that it won't fit through these particular gaps. And we'll look at all those little nuances and changes that you can make to it in the following lectures. This was just to show you what NavMeshes can do and how
Is
easy
that
they
it?
are to set
Oh,
up just
wow.
with the default settings.
Yeah, we could probably just watch these ones and then play with it on our own time because these look like fun. This isn't
Yeah,
like the
this
A-star
seems-
thing.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna fucking do more A-star. But this you could go forever on, I feel like.
In this lecture, we're going to take a closer look at NavMesh Agents. To begin with, download the NavMesh Station
Oh, the
Starter project.
rocks.
Oh, did you think that was like styrofoam or
Garbage.
something?
I thought it
Oh,
was
garbage bags.
I was like, wait, is it like a dump? What is a scene? I still can't totally see, or still can't fully understand.
Yeah,
I
they
guess
don't
it's
really
a,
look like rocks. They look
It's a spaceship, right?
fucked. Yeah, it's
some
some
sort
sort of, yeah.
or
I don't
not
know.
ship, but station.
Sci-fi station of some sort, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that there's like chairs everywhere. There's like so many fucking chairs.
That's true, yeah. What are these chairs even looking at? They're just like looking through this, I guess,
That's
through
like a
this little window.
table. Oh yeah, like oh yeah, yeah. That would be like space out there. That's the moon. You look out at the moon.
This is the bathroom.
Yeah, and then there's like a dance floor in the middle that they've.
That was a thing
That
in like the 70s a lot. A lot of houses had like
yeah.
divots in them.
Okay, that's interesting actually. Then, if it's this is like a '70s station.
It's like it's like Fallout where it's like past and future at the same time.
It's like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it's like
Object that comes with this lecture. When you open it up, you'll find an extensive map inside there. This is the map that came with the Angry Bots demo many versions of Unity ago, and I've stripped out most of the code, and you'll find just the geometry in there. And we'll just use this as a sort of a play center for our agents. Now I'm going to zoom in.
She's gonna put Asians in there. What's she
On this
say?
bit here, and I've also moved my camera so that it's looking down on there when I press play. So
Like
go ahead and
Asians?
select this area here. I've also created two materials that you won't have in your site. I've created a blue material and a red material. This is just so that we can color the agents as we create them to be able to tell the difference between them. Next, we'll set up the NavMesh. So make sure you've got your navigation window somewhere in your project. To get that, it's window and then navigation. The next step is to select the geometry in your map that you want to become part of the NavMesh. So go around and find the individual pieces of this model, so the individual polygons, and shift select them until you have most of
Oh, I
the
wonder
area
if that's
where you
going
want
to be
the
a
agents to
problem
be able
with
to
the
move.
mall
So we want to be able to
thing.
go down the corridor, so make sure that you add that in. And
All
maybe
kind of
just
being
Yeah,
one
probably.
big
I
chunk.
want them to be able to jump up on things later on. You
Probably.
can add
I
those.
kind of
If
saw
you
that
don't
being a
select them all
thing
into
because
one go, then you can come
I
back
had
and edit them
noticed
later.
like I've never ever
Ah.
ever seen a completed Unity project where the floor was all one mesh.
I don't even know. Like, I don't understand how I would do that otherwise. Like, can I do radial symmetry in Unity? Like, how would I place all of that shit the exact same way over and over and over again? It seems hard.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
I would assume just separating stuff out in Blender would probably be the easiest way. Like taking the
Oh, and
faces
then
and then
export it all as
yeah,
one object still.
yeah.
That
Or
wouldn't be
no,
too
well,
hard, I guess.
as I think as separate objects, but then if they're all at the same pivot point.
Well, if you export them all as one FBX, then you can just
Oh, right.
pull them apart in Unity. In Unity, if you need.
FBX is so good. You know you can export cameras and lights in FBX.
Yeah, I do that on accident a lot. I've
Yeah,
never.
it's-
It's an annoyance every time I do it. I'm like, fuck, I brought the light in again. I've never like done it on purpose and been like happy about it.
We use it as like a model thing, but it's
Like so much more.
its entire support. I remember because I got my car got towed one time, and I sat and read the entire FBX Wikipedia while I was waiting for my car to get.
It's a good way to spend some time. Yeah.
And FBX stands for Film Box, and it's meant to like you're able to save a whole 3D scene into a single file. That's the idea.
That's pretty nice. That's why I use FBX to do the animations, and I just rip the animation out and then I delete the FBX afterwards, because like all I need is just the animation data. So I don't know if there's a smarter way for me to be doing that, but whatever, it works. All right.
Each of the meshes that you have selected need to be set up to be a static navigation. So select the inspector, still with everything selected in the scene, and we want to go up to static and drop that down and make sure that you've got them clicked as a navigation static, just so the NavMesh can pick it up. Once you've set those, let me just set it again because I might have turned it on or off, go back into navigation to that tab, and under bake, click on bake. Now the bits that are part of the NavMesh are going to turn blue. At this point, if you've missed anything, so say you want maybe this bit over here to be included, you can come back and select it by itself and go to the inspector, and again go to static, navigation static, come back to the navigation, and in bake, press bake. And that will add it. So you can go through and do one bit at a time and keep adding it. Now if you see something like I've got going on down here, where it's not blue and it's not blue there either, it's just an overlapped rendering problem. So try not to worry about that too much. The issue will be is if your agents really do not walk over that area, then it hasn't been picked up by the NavMesh. And just come back, select it again, and just make sure that you've got it set to a navigation static, and then do a bake. Now it's time to add in an agent. So let's just zoom out a little bit from here. I'm going to go into the hierarchy, and we'll add in a new 3D object, capsule. And this capsule, I'll just drag it out here and lift it up, is going to be our AI character. And let's make that red so we can see it. Just drag that over there. Now we're going to need to send this character some commands, and we'll do that by tagging it so that we can find it. In the inspector, you want to create a new tag called AI, which I've already created. So create that and then set your capsule to be that. At that point, you can then change the name of this.
Capsule, yeah, that is a good one.
Red agent. We'll make it into a prefab a little bit later, and then you can make multiple copies of them. The important thing at this stage is that it's set to be tagged as AI. We'll now create a script called AI control. So down the project, create C# script, call it AI control, and you want to attach that to the red agent. Now open it up, and inside we want to grab hold of the NavMesh agent that is attached to our character. First we add the library to access that, so using unityengine.ai. Then we make a variable to store the link to the agent in, so public
this fucking
NavMesh
dubber motherfucker.
Agent.
Jesus Christ.
What does he want?
Yeah, he's at my mom's house right now.
Oh.
And then in the start, we set it up to be that component that's on it. So this.get component, NavMesh agent, like that. Now I want to program the agent so that it moves to a click location on the screen. And I could do it down inside of the update for this particular agent. But if I'm going to have multiple copies of this agent around the place, I don't want them all running their own update with if statements checking for mouse clicks and that type of thing. So rather than do that, I will create an agent manager. Let's go ahead and just remove this update because I don't want an empty update
clever.
processing nothing, because it will cause significant lag if you do have a lot of agents trying to run an empty update. And therefore we only need one update that will send the message through to all of the agents. So I'm just going to save that, go back over here into the editor, and in the hierarchy we'll right click and create an empty and give it the name of agent manager. And then what I'll also do is create a script called agent manager. That script gets attached to our agent manager, funnily enough, and then inside of the script I'm going to add this. So the script has an array of agents at the top, which gets populated when we start playing. So agents will be filled up with all of the game objects in the scene that have the tag AI. That's why AI is so important, that you've tagged your agents with it. Then the clicking on the environment to get the agent to move there is going to have
I love those
update.
tags.
No
Tags
matter how many
is a good
agents you've got
system.
tagged as AI in your scene, this message will be sent to them. So what it is it's if a mouse button is clicked, in this case the left mouse button, then we'll create a raycast hit. We'll use a physics raycast from the mouse input position via a screen point array. So it shoots a straight line out from the position of the mouse on the screen into the scene and finds out where it hits within a distance of 100 in this case. If you find you're not hitting anything and you're clicking all over the place, increase this number here so that you're producing a longer ray. Then inside of the if statement, we've got a for each, and that's just going to loop around all of the agents in the array, and for each one of them, it'll grab hold of their AI control script and get their agent that we just set up for them. And like in the last lecture, we use the set destination, and that will pass through the position of where the mouse click was. So it's a vector3 value that's going to go in here to the NavMesh agent. And because the NavMesh agent's already set up to move around automatically, it will start moving towards that hit point. So let's save that. And back in the editor, let's grab hold of our red agent, which has the script on it, but it doesn't yet have a NavMesh agent. So just add component NavMesh agent. Don't need to do anything else with it.
I saw a thing called not NavMesh obstacle too.
And we'll be able to click somewhere on the area that we defined for our NavMesh, and you'll see that the agent will now move. Now, if you want it to move a little bit faster, we can select the agent and come down.
This
into
is
the
already
have a look for the speed.
like
So
10
currently
times
set to
smarter than
3.5 as
RuneScape's
default.
system
We can
for
set that
this.
something like 10 if you want it to go quite fast, and press play. Actually, having said that, I don't think 10 is that super speed.
In RuneScape, if you like right now were to click like over here, it just fucking runs into the wall. Like you have to fucking you have to go and like tell it every little turn. It doesn't have any like
Yeah.
good. It probably wouldn't be that extreme, but it still has really shitty pathfinding.
And I can also
They
click
should have just
here
used
because that's
Unity.
my NavMesh. The only way to get into this area is if you go through this little tunnel. Now you saw there that he got a bit stuck, or I should say overshot where he was going to come down in this path, and that's because of the speed and the acceleration and that type of thing, as well as the braking. Let me just stop this for a second. What I want to show you is if you go to the navigation window and select your agent and then press play, you'll be able to see the NavMesh and how it works. And when you click on the surface, you'll see the path that gets calculated. So let's say I want to go over here. Let's click there. You can see all the polygons that are chosen as part of the path. The agent itself also ends up with...
Oh, wait a minute. I think I learned about this in robotics too. I'm just now recognizing the way it's like drawn
some
with
vectors sticking out of
polygons
it,
like
showing you the
this.
direction that it's travelling in and how it's turning,
Oh, yeah.
where it's going to be facing towards, and those sorts of things as well. Where the agent can move throughout the NavMesh is all dependent
never made that
on
connection.
the agent size or the baked
God damn
agent
it.
size. Over
That
the
that
navigation
robotics
window
class
under
was so
baked,
much more
there's a
about
baked
gaming than I
agent
thought
size
it
that you would have
was.
seen before, and changing the values on this determine how the NavMesh is generated. So, for example, the agent's radius, if we were to increase
Yeah, I think
that
there's
to say
a
that our agent is like
there's a Venn
quite
diagram
wide,
between
like
the
that, and
two.
then rebake, what you're going to do is find any narrow areas where it could get through before are now gone. So, for example, the agent can't get down this tunnel anymore because it was really one of the most narrowest sections. And despite the fact that if you select this Agents tab up here and have a look what's going on here, you can modify the size of any particular type of agent, which we'll look at later on. It still has no effect whatsoever over this baked agent size. So it's the baked agent size that determines how the NavMesh gets generated on the surface of your environment, not the size of the individual agents that you create. Because in here you could have like humanoid, zombie, fish, whatever you want. You can have all different types of AI, but they will not affect the baking of the NavMesh. This will in here. So if we bring this back down to, say, 59 and rebake it, we'll get our little path.
Does that mean you'd have to have like a separate nav mesh for like if you had one guy like this and then you had one big fucking tuna can ass guy and like he couldn't fit through here, would he just try to fit through here over and over and not be able to because it's baked on this size? I don't know.
Probably. Well, I think the size defines where you can go. So yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's one size that's just determines the bake of the actual nav mesh, but then your agent size can change and it doesn't affect the nav mesh bake at all. And you can have multiple agents. So like ideally you would match this with your agent, right? Because that makes the most sense. But then if you make another agent that has a different size, like I don't know if you'd have to make like a new bake for that, like a new mesh, or if it would just know like, oh, I can't fit there, I'll try another way around. I guess it seems like a smart enough system that it would probably do that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if the whole thing is based on size and they have different agents, then
Maybe she'll
there's
address
probably
that.
a way to do it.
Underneath this
Yeah, it
tunnel
might just be
then.
different
and
nav meshes.
even if I had a different agent in here and he was absolutely enormous and he was bigger,
That would
than
explain why a lot of video
0.59
games
in
have like
radius,
the
he would
same
still be able to follow the path and he
the
would
same
work
like
his way
size
through
enemies.
the geometry. So probably not something you want. And you
She
can
just
control
answered it. Did you hear that?
No,
She
I
literally
was talking over her.
That was funny because I didn't even hear what you were saying because as soon as she started talking, I just looked at the camera like, oh, here we fucking go. Immediately answering my question as soon as I stopped, as soon as I paused.
Fish.
Whatever, I'll just
whatever
play
you
it
want. All
again.
different
She
types
answered
of
the question.
AI, but they will not affect the baking of the NavMesh. This will in here. So if we bring this back down to, say, 59 and rebake it, we'll get our little path underneath this tunnel again. And even if I had a different agent in here and he was absolutely enormous and he was bigger than 0.59 in radius, he would still be able to follow the path and he would work his way through the geometry. So probably not something you want. And you can control that, but not right here. The other thing that you can set is the slope
there you
that
go,
the
yeah.
agent can walk down.
Yeah.
So if I just move this over and have a look down here, in this lounge area, there's a slope from this platform down into there. And we can change this over in the bake area. The max slope that agent's able to navigate is currently set to 45. If we said that this agent just can't use slopes whatsoever and set it to 0 and then rebake it, you'll see that there now is no path that the agent can take to get there. Now, in taking this out, you may have also disturbed the path from where the agent currently is elsewhere. Let's have a look over here. You can see that the path over this section here is now gone as well. Now, even if I press play at this point, I can click legitimately in these areas, but the agent can't get there. So if I click out here, it can move to there. If I try and get him to come into here, it's going to follow the path as far as it can until it gets stuck. Now, you can see in this case what's happened, it's over here now, is because it tried to calculate the shortest path to get to here, and because it couldn't go this way, it went all the way around the black, and then it got as close as it possibly could to there, but couldn't reach it. So if we click over here, the agent can come over to here, but of course it can't get through there because there's no path. And if we click down this area here, again, there's just no way to get there, so it won't, even though it does try. Underneath where you set the maximum slope, you can also set the step height. And this is really great if you've got an environment with lots of steps and you want your agents to get up on top of things. In this environment, there's not really any steps, but if we have a look around, there's a container here. Now, this container, you can navigate on top of it if you're already on top of it, but there's no path to get up on top of this container. If I select this container, and I'm just going to move it over to there, where we can see it clearly. Just get that box out of the road. And then if we bake right now, you'll see that it gets the top on it, but we still can't get up there, it's too high. So I'm going to move it down into the ground a bit, so maybe about there, and press bake. Now when we press play, we'll see if we can get up on top of it. So I'll go over there, and the agent goes near it, but it can't get up on top of it, so it's close, but not quite. So let's just make that step a bit higher. You can't make a step height higher than your agent, so Unity will stop you if you try and do it. Okay, now what you can see is that it has drawn up the side of the box here, which clearly shows us that the path for that step exists. So now when I press play, and I click on the box, he's going to pop up on top. So there it is there, and then he will also be able to get off again as well. So it's kind of like, I guess, the jumping height as well as for going upstairs. Just to finish up with this lecture, what I'm going to do is go back to the bake, and we will increase our slope again so that we can get inside of that area and bake that. Okay, brings this path back here, and then with the agent itself, our red agent, we can just Control D and make a whole bunch of copies of it. Now they're going to be all exactly the same. They're all going to have the same tag of AI, which means the agent manager will pick them up and send through any click messages to them, which will set their destination. Now, before they even move, their physics will not make them collide with each other, and they won't use their own avoidance system to avoid each other either, because we haven't triggered that to happen. But as soon as I click in here, they will all pop apart. And now you can see them all seemingly working together to get
See,
the
yeah,
same
out of the
location.
box,
But all they're doing is just trying to get
that
to where
looks
you
so
clicked
much better.
whilst
That
avoiding
works so
each
much
other.
better than
And so
Unity
you can have
system
as
out of the
many of
box,
these
or
little red
Unreal
guys
system.
as you like, and the agent manager will automatically pick them up for you. Alright, so that
Because
is
they all
the
just
basics
completely
of
ignored
creating
each
a
other
single
in
agent
the
and
original
some of the
version.
nuances of the map and setting up the
Yeah, let me see if I can get this up in like 1 minute. I think I can get it quickly. Yeah, here. There's just a bunch of these. I just went through and recorded a bunch of the old like Unity projects we made during that time when we were learning shit. I just like recorded little demos of them just in case I ever lost them. And here I'm hoping you can kind of see it here. Oh god, that's so loud. If you could see the problem I had with these guys. I may have fixed it though. Oh, so this is after I shittily fixed them. So you can see they do kind of push each other out of the way. They just like slide around. But this was after like fucking so much work trying to figure out how to make them not clip through each other.
Yeah.
I also got that. I stole that though.
It's good though.
NavMesh Agents. Shh, God. I hate that.
Did we
I hate
finish
how
the
loud
last
that
one?
starts. Yeah. Oh, well,
okay.
8
areas
seconds.
on there.
Yeah, no,
In the
it's
next
fine.
lecture, we'll look at adding
Yeah.
a different agent type so that we have 2 and restricting where they can go.
One step closer to coaches. 2 different
Now to
types of AI.
Continue looking at NavMesh agents.
Make them
In
fight.
this lecture, by creating another agent that can only go
I was like, why is she so slow?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
in certain areas. So first of all, grab hold of your red
She's on
agent
morphine.
duplicated. If you've got a whole bunch of other red
Like, go back to the. That's funny.
I had it the same. I listened to the Destiny lore video that was like 7 hours, and I listened to it on 1.5 speed, and then I listened to it again, and I was just like, "What the? How do you talk this slow?"
areas. So first of all,
Grab a hold of
red
your
agent and
red
just duplicate it. If you've got a
agent.
whole bunch of other red agents because you were playing around with them from before, you can leave them there, or you might want
It sounds like a different person. That literally
Yeah,
sounds
she's
like
so much more chill.
sounds like she's had like a head injury or something.
She's just like a regular person, and this she's like really peppy and like
So we don't really want that.
super.
So we're gonna go ahead and put the red agent. We're gonna put the red agent mesh on the red agent
Yeah,
nav
she's
mesh.
still like believably that like someone could maybe talk that fast.
Well, my robotics professor was so fucking slow that I had to do 2x speed on his, whereas
Uh,
other professors I could only do 1.5 because they were faster, but not that much faster.
mhm.
So it just depends.
them. Now I'm just going to press W here and just move these agents apart. And I'll
wonder
use
how
my
fast
blue
I could
material, like
talk.
colour that I made before,
Not that
and
fast.
create the blue agent. So let's call this blue agent.
I have to take breaks in between because I don't
And this
think that
blue
fast.
agent, because it was a copy.
Well, I was barely thinking when I was doing it. That's the secret is you just can't think. You just say dumb bullshit. Like, everything I said
Yeah.
was wrong. Today we're going to be talking about Surface Agent Pro Gigabyte Max.
Of the red agent has the same AI control script and the NavMesh agent attached to it. They're important. You need to have those in there. And we're not actually changing the code at all. We're changing the NavMesh specification. What I want to do is make the blue agent unable to go down this corridor. And that means modifying the areas within the NavMesh so that the blue agent is unable to walk across this polygon that is here. So I'm going to go back into navigation, and we can see that everything is blue and it's all set to be walkable in this case. So that's the first built-in value. We're going to add another one. Let's call it corridor. Now corridor we want to assign to this area here. So you need to click on the polygon or the mesh that will be the corridor. So anywhere else you want to set to corridor, you can do it this time as well, but just by shift selecting all of the parts that you want. So let's just do this one. Now that it's selected, go over into the object tab in the navigator. You'll see that this navigation static box is ticked because that's what we set it to back in the inspector under the static here. Now, if you select a polygon that you haven't done before, baked before, such as this one here, you can select it as static here, or in navigation, you can actually tick it, and this one is ticked.
I feel like
as
that's
well.
where I'll do
now,
it.
Let's go back to here. And ticking that does exactly the same thing as setting its static navigation static in the inspector.
That
Now
makes
we've
more
created
sense
that
to my
corridor
brain.
as an area for the nav mesh. In this object section, we can set individual surfaces to be that type. So in this case, I can drop this box down and I'll find corridor because I typed that into the areas. And so that poly surface, 4901 in this case, will become the corridor. We go back into bake and then bake it.
I wonder if you
See that
just
it
set
goes
a
pink.
section
And
of the
let's
ground
just
to be
check out the
jumped.
areas, and you can see that the
Would they
colour of the
just stand
corridor
there and
is
jump
pink.
over and
Now, you
over
might have
as
just
they're
noticed
walking
in here
through
I've got
it?
this height mesh ticked because I was
Or
testing something out
does
before.
that mean they
Let me
just
start again
they will
Right, so,
jump up
now
to
we've
it
done
if they
that, we've
have
assigned
to?
that to the corridor. The next thing we need to
Yeah, I
do
don't
is
really
tell
know
the
what the
blue
jump
agent
does
that
actually. What
it's
the
unable
jump
to go
area
down
does.
corridors.
What that jump do?
So we go back and find the blue agent, which is here.
I assume it's not
And
like a
in the
trigger.
inspector,
It
at
just
the
like
bottom
makes
of
jump
its NavMesh
available or
agent,
something,
we
or
don't
like you
change
have
the
to
agent
jump
type, we're
there.
still working with humanoid. But we do
Yeah, it would be
change
weird if
area
it just
mask, which is
forces you
right
to
down the
jump
bottom.
if you're
And
within that
in
area.
here,
That seems
it
like a
shows
dumb
you
way
all
to
the
handle
different
that,
parts
but
of the NavMesh
maybe.
that will be navigatable by that agent. And in this case, the corridor isn't. So we just select it, and that will turn corridor off. And now the blue agent cannot go down the corridor.
Okay,
So
that's a smart
let's
way to
test this
do
out.
that.
We haven't changed any code. We've just changed the NavMesh and where the agent can go. Press play, and we've got our two agents here. They'll be able to wander around. But if I select the inside area, the red agent will be able to get there, but the blue agent is stopped at the door because there's no possible way for it to get across this corridor.
Poor
and if you like, at
bastard.
this point, you can control D to create a few red and control D to create a few blue agents and watch them bustle around and also hustle past each other to try and get through the door because the blue guys are going to get in the road of the red. In this case, they're blocking them completely and try and jiggle them around a bit.
See, that's one thing
Now, one
specifically
guy
that never would have happened in my setup, where like one group would block another one. They would have just like what they did is they would like slide through each other and like push each other out of the way,
Yeah.
or they would just clip through each other completely. Like it was so hard to find a clean solution to that. Well, I guess impossible because I never did, but I'm sure there is a smarter way. I just didn't know.
Through. So they might even move just a little bit because they still do jitter around the spot that they're on, and some of them will get through. But you can see in this the behaviour of the red and the blue. Now, if the blue needed to get inside, then we need to create another path for them. To create a path for the blue agents, I'm going to just jimmy up a solution by putting a ramp over here. So what I've done is I've removed the barrels that were around here, and I've also gotten rid of the railings. So there were a couple of railings here and also over on the other side. And I've stretched it out and rotated it. So it's just a stock standard Unity cube, made it bridge across that area. It's not absolutely perfect, and there's a bit of a step there, but we are allowing for stepping up in this NavMesh anyway. Now, if you're in a later version of Unity and you're trying to edit this model, because it's a prefab, it's going to give you issues about wanting to open up the prefab and that type of thing. Instead, what you can do is click on the parent of the
like
prefab
that.
and go down to unpack prefab completely, and that will get rid of its link to any particular prefab so that you can easily edit it. I've also selected a lot of these other areas in the map to make them into NavMesh as well, so by the time the agents get over the bridge, then they can find their way back into that other area. Now, this cube is not attached to the rest of the mesh. It's by itself, and that's fine. It doesn't matter if it's a part of a whole mesh or it's a single object. It can still be integrated into the NavMesh. Now, we select that particular cube in this case, and we go over to our navigation window and down to object. We make it a navigation static, ticking it in there. We can also tick it in the inspector, and then we set it to walkable, which is what we want it to be. We go back to bake and then click on bake, and you'll see that you get a nice path going across there now. So let's go back and run this. When I click in here, the red guys are going to go down the corridor because they can. The blue guys don't even try to go down the corridor, so it doesn't even come into their calculations as they head off across the back, and then they'll come in and through, I guess, this other corridor that's over here and down into this area where the red ones are. Now, the red guys are going to go the shortest path, or the least cost, I should say, to get into that area. Let's just see if we move the red ones over here first, if we can get them to go across the bridge. So I'm just realigning that, and I'll set my camera up, align with view, so we can see more of the station, and then we press play, and I click over here, and they'll all go over there, because that is the shortest path to get to there, and then if I click there, they will all head off across the bridge, and then once they're over here, it should be shorter for them to come inside this way. Yep, so they'll come in through there. So in this case, we made them go over there, and then it was just shorter distance for them to come this way than to go back and across through that corridor. But if they're standing here at the start, then the corridor is the quickest way for them to get inside. How could we make the corridor be more costly for them to go across? Let's say, I don't know, let's say the corridor was on fire or something, and it would make it a better idea for them to go around that way than to come through here. What you do is you increase the cost of this part of the path. And we can do that in the navigation window. If we go into areas, corridor is currently set to a cost of 1, but if we made that a cost of 10 to go along that corridor, it's going to make the calculation a little bit different for them. Once you've changed the cost, you'll need to go back through and rebake it so those values get saved into the NavMesh. Okay, so let's press play and see what we get now. So let's try and get them to go here. Now, in this case, that must be very borderline, that cost of 10 for them to come down, because you can see 2 of them who were close enough in vicinity to go across through here got there first, whereas the ones that were pushed by the blue guys further away from the corridor decided that it was easier to go around that way. So in this lecture, we've looked at creating different areas and assigning different areas to different objects that are in our NavMesh, and then assigning the different areas into the agent's own pathfinding system, which is in the NavMesh agent, by turning them on or off.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I'm like excited to play with this.
Yeah, it's very informative.
Setting up off mesh links. I wonder what that means.
I bet this is jumping.
Maybe.
In this lecture, we're going to use a NavMesh to get a character to chase
Is this the
our
Walking
player
Dead
character
game?
around in an environment. If you want to download the Zombie Chaser starter file that comes with this lecture, you can follow along. Open up the Zombie Chaser scene that's inside the file, and you'll find this set up here. You've got a zombie character that's in there, and she's got animations on her already, so that you'll be able to see her walking. And there's also a player character. If you press play at this point, you'll see that you've got a first-person controller that's already put in there, and that's the default standard assets one that you can get with Unity. And you've got the zombie. The animation is on, but there's nothing there pushing the zombie forward whatsoever. So let's get to work. First of all, we need to set up our NavMesh. So over in the hierarchy, you'll find that there's 3 things. There's Stevie, our zombie. There's our FPS controller, which is
Her name
us,
is Stevie.
And then there's the warehouse model itself. If you select the parent, you'll get everything. So we'll just apply the NavMesh to everything. So the first thing we need to do is, in the inspector, with everything selected, we'll just go up to the static, and we'll make it into a navigation static. And say yes to changing all of the children so that all these meshes will be included in the calculation. Now open up your navigation tab. We're not going to change any of the default settings in here. And select bake. So the default settings are set up for an average sized character, which are usually around 2 meters high with a half a meter radius, and a step size of 0.4, which is okay in this case, and a slope of 45. There's not really a lot of slopes going on in this particular warehouse. There's a lot more steps than anything. With that bake performed, you can now just have a little bit of a look around and see all the different places where that bake went to. And there's also, if we go along and just zoom down here, you can see that it went upstairs. Over there you can see it went up the stairs. And so if you walk over here, you'll be able to get the zombie to follow you up the stairs, which is what we want it to do. Alright, so now let's add some code onto Stevie, our zombie, to get her to follow us around. So first of all, we need to click on her in the hierarchy, go into the inspector and add in the NavMesh agent to turn her into something that can follow you around. And you can immediately see, once you've done that, the enclosing cylinder that you'll get around that character that's going to push her along and stop her running into things. Next, we need to write some code that will set the destination for our agent.
This
So
is how
I've
the
got it here.
heavies
It's a
in
C# file called
Oil Rig
chase
act
player.
now.
So create that C# file.
They just fucking
and then
beeline
drag and drop
straight
it
for you.
onto
It's
the
so much more
character.
aggressive.
Yeah.
It's
Open that up and we'll have a
ridiculous.
look at the code that's in there.
I don't know why they
So
made them
first of
so
all,
much harder.
We've got a link
It did
to our
not used to
player
be like
because
that.
the zombie needs to know where the player is at all times.
I was
so
up
that
on
they
the
can
Yeah.
spot
get to
where you're
destination.
like where you
Next,
could make
we'll create a
large,
link
take large,
to
and make
the
it a lot
NavMesh
easier.
agent that's-
And they were just pulling up right underneath me. There's literally like 8 of them in just a
Yeah, that's
pile,
what
all
happened to
looking
me.
up at me.
I figured out that happens to me, and it like it's because that cost value or whatever, it's very borderline, where like in that perfect spot, if you shift your position over like to the like one side of it, the whole group will move. And then you
Yeah,
shift
they
the
all
other
go like
over.
and like run up the
Yeah.
stairs, and then you go right back, and they go right back to that little spot.
Yeah, that's what happened to me that time. You, me, and Joe all went on, and then like we were like, okay, are they gone? Okay, they're gone. And I jumped off, and there was like 10 of them.
That's what happened to
being
me just
silent.
recently. I tried to make the jump from that to the rig, and I just missed and fell right in front of all of them, and they just
Oh,
annihilated. Like, it's ridiculous how quickly they killed me. But yeah, I feel like they used to like roam around for a little
yeah.
bit. Like,
This has been
it's weird that they
I've
just
been thinking
cluster up
about-
like this. It's stupid.
this has been making me think about Rust.
Me
And
too.
they're-
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking about Rust. I guess because it's like a rusty environment.
Yeah, but also I was thinking about it with like the animals and stuff, how that works. Like,
Mhm.
I wonder how they do that, and just with terrain and stuff. Like, do they even do nav meshes?
I'd imagine they
assume-
probably do.
I definitely would guess that they do for monuments.
I would imagine the animals are probably the easier ones.
Yeah,
I feel because
just
the
see a
animals
lot
just
of-
beeline right for you, basically, if they see you.
in the zombie server, I see a lot of weird fuck ups with the zombie like navigation.
You see that
Or
with the
they'll-
animals too. They probably have the
Yeah.
same mesh, I bet.
They do, or they definitely do, because they'll do like wide circles around you for no reason.
Or like at launch site, there's like Haas 00312 not fake is now following.
Thank you, Haas, for coming
Thank
back
you, Haas.
once
I'm
again.
So glad you're real and you're not a fake boy this whole time. Haas 0000000000312. There's so many zeros. Why? Who are you?
Did someone buy like followers for this account?
Well, we're not actually getting them though. They just go away.
That's true.
Like, if we
Haas
look
just
at the
really
thing-
wants in, but they're banned.
If we look at the actual Twitch
Are they
page,
banned?
oh, I guess I could look at. We haven't banned like
I'm a
anyone.
mod. I've
Or no,
banned
I
people
banned
before.
one account. I forgot about that actually.
Yeah,
let's
there's
peek
been
at this.
banned.
Let's take a quick detour. Hold on.
Put on my sword.
It's a good like asterisk puts on sword. God, I'm so bad at Twitch's fucking setup. I don't know where anything is.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, he's not banned from this channel.
And we didn't actually gain him as a follower, right?
No, we just get the notification.
What is that?
Oh my god. I searched the word Haas, and the first thing that came up is Haas Twitch.
Okay. So Haas is it's a big deal. We're on to you, Haas. We're figuring you out.
Something to do with targeted harassment bots.
He's harassing us targetedly?
Yeah, so he's not cool.
Fuck you, Haas.
If anyone named Haas follows you, just ban them.
Well, there's
This
50
Reddit
million
said.
of them. I can't ban all of them, right? He's
Recently
not
a
even
follower,
in chat. He's not even here. How did he even
But-
follow?
I don't totally understand. You could probably do it through the API. Like,
I guess
just
so.
follow.
But yeah, if you go to like if you go to like
You can
launch
follow
site,
offline.
if you go to like launch site, there's like a big pit, you know, like in that big open area that Bradley patrols. I guess Bradley patrols the whole thing, but it's like, you know, there's an area that's like residential launch site, and then there's like where the actual rocket is. They're kind of like two different zones.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
You
I
know,
was
in
reading
launch
about
site,
Haas.
there's like a building area where there's everything's made out of
Yeah, yeah.
buildings, and then there's an area where it's like outdoors, and that's where the actual rocket is, and there's like a huge pit. For some reason, there's
Oh,
like a
yeah.
layer on the top of that.
Yeah,
that the
zombies
animals
walk on that.
and the zombies, I guess, will interpret as like a walkable area, and it's so weird to me because it's not walkable for us. So like, what in the NavMesh is making it think that's a walkable area? Like, I don't know. I don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, it maybe makes sense if it's like, if their positions aren't based on like a rigid body or physics or anything, which they definitely aren't, then
But like, it's a monument. That's like a static thing. That should be like,
but, like,
those
the
should be the places
animals,
you like.
you know.
I feel like those should be the places that they're like, we got the nav meshes, you know, like those are the easy ones.
Yeah,
Like it's the procedurally generated shit where the nav meshes are going to be all fucky.
they probably did it on purpose actually, so it didn't just catch up all the pigs. And
They just fall. There's just a pool of pigs at the bottom.
yeah, like that would 100% happen. Like any pig
Couldn't
that
they
went
just
down there would
avoid
just...
the pit completely? Why does it have to be fall in or float over it?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, they know. I'm sure they're smart enough to figure it out.
the animals cannot deal with ledges.
I should give Gary a call. I bet you have cracked the case. All right.
Yeah, he's working on Chippy too.
Is attached to our AI character. Then in the start, we set up both of those things. The player will be grabbed using find with tag of player. So we'll set the tag of our
Find
player
with tag
character
of
to
player.
And then the agent, as we've done before, is just grabbing hold of the NavMesh agent attached to this character. Now, because we're using the NavMesh, all we need to do in the update is just to keep setting the destination for the agent to be the player's position. So it's one line of code, and the NavMesh is pretty much doing all the rest of the work for you. Once you've added that, save it. Go back into Unity. Make sure you've got your code attached to Stevie, so that's right down the bottom here. And let's go over to our FPS controller, which is our player character in this case, and make sure you tag it as player. Player with a capital P, the tag already exists as a default in Unity, so just select that. At this point, we can press play and see the effect of our code. Now, when we start, immediately the zombie is right on top of our character, and you can see it there. I'll just walk away, turn around. She's moving quite fast, and when she approaches us, she ends up exactly on our position. You can move with the WASD keys or the arrow keys.
That head bob is way too
So let's
much.
adjust her speed and the fact that she gets very close to us. So hit the escape key to release control over your mouse. Stop playing. Then
How do you
select
do
Stevie
that?
in
How
the
does she
hierarchy.
lock the mouse
In
into
the
the
NavMesh
window?
agent, we can change the speed.
God
by
damn
putting
it.
down
I need to
let's
know
say,
how to do
1.
that.
She said
And
it.
we can set the stopping distance.
Control
It's
something.
currently set to 0 by default, but let's say we want her to be 2 meters away from us when we stop, or when she stops, rather than being right on top of us. Let's press play and have a look at the effect of that. So if I turn around, she's stopped. She's not trying to follow us because she is within that stopping distance of 2. Now if I walk away, she's going to slowly, at a speed of 1, walk towards us. You'll also notice that we haven't done anything about the animations lining up with the movement. Don't worry about that right at this moment. We want to get the functionality going first. Now, while you're
She's not
wandering
gonna do
around, you
that.
might notice some odd behaviours happening with the zombie. And let me just show you. So let's play this. What I'm going to do is walk behind her over towards that green door. And I'll walk backwards so that we can see what she does. She's walking towards us. But then, I'll go over here. She turns around and goes away. Now, we haven't programmed that type of behaviour in, and it's as like she's suddenly lost interest and can't see us anymore. But that's not what's happened, Kate. She's not that clever. We haven't programmed that into her. What she's trying to do is find another path to get to us from the NavMesh she's on. And the reason being is this. So let me escape. I'm going to go over and turn the navigation window on so we can see the NavMesh in the window. Looking down here, you'll see there's a gap in the NavMesh. Now, fair enough, it's very, very small, but it is still a gap. And Stevie cannot get across that gap because she doesn't believe that there is a path that she can follow to get from where she was there to where we are now standing.
Oh,
and
cool.
instead, she thinks her path is to go some other direction, which she is. So she's found a path, and you can tell she's found a path because of the dark areas that the A-star algorithm has highlighted for us, which was to go quite a long way. And so she's solved the problem of not being able to get over this little tiny gap by going the long way round and going up and over and now back to us. So if we had to walk backwards and skip over that little crack again, she's going to go the long way around again, which is amusing behaviour to watch, but probably not exactly what you want in this case. So we need to find a way to bridge this little gap here. Now, it's not a matter of remodelling or adding more models or anything into it. It's just a matter of using what are called off-mesh links. An off-mesh link is a link that allows an agent to jump across gaps in meshes. So we've got our two meshes here, so I can select them. So that's that one, and I'll shift select the other one, which will pick that one up there. So that's these two pieces of floor. What I'm going to do with them is go over into the navigation window. You want to go to the Object tab, and you want to tick Generate Off-Mesh Links. What that will do is link these two plates together. We come back to the Bake tab, and then what you want to do is go down to where it says Generated Off-Mesh Links, and set up the jump distance. It's currently set to 0, so if you try and bake at this point, you won't get any links made across those two meshes. But let's put in a value like 2 in here and press bake.
2.
And you will see these circles pop up on the mesh itself. I can zoom in for you and just orientate around a bit. And you'll see here that it sets up links so that the zombie will be able to move across these meshes. Let's press play and try it out. Okay, so I'm going to walk around and over here to the green door, and she's going to follow. And I'll go across the gap. And you can see that she skipped across that gap quite nicely. And now she'll follow me wherever there is that blue
Did she
line.
kind of jitter across
Now, the
it?
last thing
Did
I
you
want to
see
show
that?
you is another type of off-mesh
Yeah.
link, but one where there is a drop as well as a gap. So what we've already done is create the one over near the green door that bridges that little tiny gap. But I want Stevie to be able to follow me off the top of this particular container, which I can currently get to, but she can't. There's no linkages there to get up. So we can make a linkage
Linkages.
easily by increasing the step size that she can go up. And if we set it to, let's say, the step size to, let's say 1.6, and then bake it, and Stevie will also speed up her speed to 5. Let's just press play, and we'll be able to see that she's going to follow me up quite fast onto that container. So I'll just jump up here, and she's just there, and you can see if I move back a bit, she's up on that container because of the step size allows her to get up there. Though, if I jump off, and we look back, she's going to have to go the other way to get back to me. Now, if you've watched The Walking Dead, you know zombies are pretty stupid, and if you went off the edge of a cliff, so would they. So let's modify this NavMesh so that it will allow agents to go from a certain drop height. So to do that, we're going to select where we're dropping from and also where we're dropping to. It doesn't matter which order you select them in. So this is shift select those two parts there that we want to link with an off-mesh link, and then we'll go over into navigation. Under object, we want to click the generate off-mesh links for this particular two boxes, then go back into bake, and this time we change the drop height. So let's make it 10 because it's a fair distance to drop down, and then click on bake. What you'll find is you get a series of circles appear that are linked.
Now, is she gonna just like
turn around so we can
teleport,
see it a
or
bit
is she
better.
gonna actually like walk
There we go.
off
It's
and
kind
fall
of like a
off? you
waterfall
think?
effect. Where you
She'll
can see
probably
that the
fall
circles over
off,
here, and then they're
but
linked
it'll be
down
really
to
fast,
here.
I bet.
And these are the positions where Stevie will be able to jump off and follow us down from that container. So press play and we'll try this out.
Because she did
So we
make
wanna
her
go
speed
around
super
here,
fast.
upstairs,
And she didn't program any like falling state, I don't
up onto this
think.
container.
I don't know actually. Maybe there's a falling
Here she
state
comes.
in the character.
Well, no, because there's no idle or
Okay, and I
anything.
jump
It's
off,
it's literally just
turn
playing that
around.
walk animation over and over.
She has followed us down there rather than going the long way.
It just has the
back
one
again.
animation.
Okay, so that is how to get a character to
She
follow
didn't
you,
even
but
show it.
also how to generate your off-mesh
was too
links,
fast,
which are really important
but
when you've got
whatever.
little gaps and funny things happening in your nav mesh that you want your agents to be able to navigate over and around.
All right. So assignment, probably tomorrow, play with this on our own time.
Yeah.
And then Sunday we'll come back. Maybe we'll either just watch Finite State Machines, or we'll come back and play with it even more on stream. And be like, hey, I ran into this problem, or I blah, 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 or let's try to come up with this, or I thought of this idea, We'll see. We might play with nav meshes a little more, because that's pretty fun. And that's going to be very important. We're going to need to use nav meshes a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the stream for now. I didn't even need to open this. I didn't do anything. But I guess I'm going to try it real quick. I'm going to just make this whole chunk navigation static. Yes, change children. And then I go with component navigation.
You have ramps too. It might actually get up to the top.
Yeah, I hope so. How do I get just like the navigation tab like she had, I guess?
Oh, I don't remember actually.
Oh, I think I can go right here and go like add tab, yeah. Oh, it's not there though.
It's under one of those drop downs in window, I'm pretty sure. Oh wait, I'm looking at the stream again.
Game object. I keep wanting to go to component, but it's not the right thing, I don't think.
I think it's window, and then it's under like
panels.
Panels, maybe, yeah.
No.
Or like that last chunk of drop downs are like all specific ones.
Oh, I got it. Okay. And then I just hit bake.
I think so.
All right, let's see how it did.
Wow.
Not bad. Oh, I guess it did. It just clipped through this because I didn't pick that. That's fine though. That's easy to fix. Oh yeah, all this is technically navigatable, even though there's not really a path to it. Very nice. Okay. I guess all this is kind of fucky. This is fucky to begin with. I probably shouldn't have even put this little divot. It's kind of annoying stepping in that like all the time.
Yeah.
So I think I might, if I remake the thing, I might bring this up like a lot so that you can visually see the difference. And then hopefully the collider will just smooth it out. If not, I could probably force that to be smoothed out, I guess. So I guess let me try like, can I add something that's not static as a static thing? Like what if I say this chair is static and then I bake and then I move the chair? It's not going to update the nav mesh, right?
No. It'll keep whatever it said was navigatable on it. It'll just keep it in that spot.
Oh shit, my controller.
Oh, actually it's good that you did that because it added it as like a non-navigatable zone.
What do you mean?
It added a little like silhouette around on the floor.
Yeah, but now when I move it, it just stays there.
Oh, well, yeah.
So it's not really helpful. This is...
No, yeah, not for rigid bodies.
That's what game dev feels like. Just like, what is all this shit? What is all this? She looks so scared.
She's gonna barf.
I hate cat likes standing on a rigid body system. This shit's so annoying. It's like it's made of like ice. Everything you stand on is made of ice. There's gotta be a better way. Gotta look into that. I wonder if there is a way to make it like... I guess like if I wanted the agents to just... Like if I wanted these guys to just like avoid this bench and not hit the bench, you know?
Mm.
I wonder if there's a way to do that besides just... Actually, I wouldn't even know. I don't even know how to do that at all.
Yeah, right now we only learn the really simple thing where they like bump into each other. Like they don't we haven't learned anything about like interacting.
Even that's like super aggressive. I mean, not aggressive, impressive though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that's the stream. I guess we didn't actually really do anything. We just kind of watched the video, but hopefully next stream, yeah, it was our brains. Hopefully next stream we'll actually have. I'm just gonna Control Z that, I guess. Yeah, we'll have some NavMesh shit to show that we did on our own time. I think I'll probably try to make the Roombas use a NavMesh instead of the waypoints.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll try to make a walk cycle for old Jerry. Well, no, I won't do that before the next stream, but
yeah.
So we'll see. All right. Well, thank you for watching. I am going to close the stream now. Goodbye. Thank you for the follow, Haas.
Thank you for the follow, Haas. You're a racist, I guess.
Thanks, Haas.
Thanks, Haas.